So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for this fourth in our lunchtime speaker series. My name is Marilyn McComb. I'm the Executive Director of the ARC of North Central Virginia. We support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the 5-county area of Fauquier, Culpeper, Madison, Rappahannock, and Orange. We provide individual consultations to families and individuals and as one of our core services. So please feel free to connect us with any families who might be in need or just seeking support of any kind. We, during this presentation, if you can put your microphone on mute, that'd be awesome. And it's up to you about your camera. If you'd like to turn your camera off, that's fine. We will be spotlighting the speaker's video and recording the formal presentation part. The questions and answers will lead mostly towards the end, but please do, if you have a question during the presentation, go ahead and put it in the chat and I will communicate that to the speaker as we go. I believe that's all of my notes. So Melissa, take it away with your presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marilyn, and thank you for inviting us to participate in your summer speaker series. I just unmuted myself. That I want to thank you, everybody, for attending, and thank you, Marilyn, for inviting us to attend in your summer speaker series this summer. And we would like to, I've got my coworker, Melanie Shoemade here. She is located in the, remind me which?
North Central. So
North Central
Virginia.
And I am here, I cover the entire state. My role with the company, I work with all advocacy groups, families, just sharing the information about our services, just getting the information out. And Melanie is in your locality. And I am going to share my screen with everyone. I'm going to make sure that there is a video I am going to share, which does have and I can share information later in the group chat about our YouTube channel. If you don't mind, you feel free to ask any questions that you may have in the chat, and we will answer the questions at the end. And we are with SafeinHome, where we are a remote support service for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're a Medicaid waiver provider where individuals who receive all 3 different types of waivers, CL, BI, and FIS waivers, as well as CCC plus waivers, where we can provide remote support service with for individuals to live within their own community, within their own homes. And if you'd like, you can go ahead and scan the QR code at the bottom, and that could take you to our website. So I will leave that there for a second. And you may be asking yourself, what is remote support service? And basically, we can help individuals live as independently as possible within their own homes remotely. And I'm going to play a video.
I really want to be on my own, and we have the right to be able to choose what we want to do in our home. That gives me my freedom. That gives me my power. and be able to be who I am and be able to live my life the way I want in my house and still have that protection, that backup. I had some people that were taking advantage and I wasn't aware of them really taking advantage of me. Good girl. We'll go on a walk in a little bit. I felt like those bad things was going to happen again here. And so my SSA said, hey, Chris, we just heard a program called SafeinHome. You know, let's try this program.
What have you been up to today?
Just hanging out and relaxing. And I was like, you know, that is a great program. It's like a freedom of life that SafeinHome has gave me and will give others in life. I, had fear of things happening, but, when they hooked everything up, I was able to lay down and sleep for about 7 to 8 hours without waking up. If I need something or feel like I need something, I could just hit that call button and someone will answer on the other end and help me. I always carry it from room to room.
Hi there, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's going to be warm enough to take a little walk around a block or two.
I'm sure that'd be nice with the dog.
Yeah.
Well, have you had a chance to take your medication yet?
I did take my medication. Yeah.
Sounds like you're on top of it.
Yeah. So, all right, that's all I have for right now. I'll make sure I take my Ampers with me when I go for a walk. The one thing I like about SafeinHome is that they have this little technology called Ampers, and it is to keep you safe and help you along throughout the day. If you fall, you can push the button, and the support from SafeinHome can absolutely turn on a GPS and know where you are and get you help if you need it. And I love it. Every time I go on a walk, I use it. Really helps because I can speak to someone and see someone. Those little things that I know that they're there no matter what. I know the comfort that someone is there if I really need to talk to somebody. It helps me to be able to just live my life the way I want to live and knowing that I could be independent and be able to be safe at the same time. And SafeinHome has been great to me. It took away a lot of depression. It took away a lot of stress and worry that I may have. Now I can work on my future.
And as you can see in the video, there were several devices that were highlighted that shows how he's able to live as independently as possible, but can in turn reach out and speak to someone, a live person on the other end, for any help that he may have at any given point. And independence looks different for everyone. Housing looks different for everyone. The individual could be living with family, could be living with a roommate, or living with alone. And as you saw with Chris, he's living alone. Our service, we are a remote support service provider. We can schedule certain time periods where we're checking in with the individual to make sure XYZ, what have you, as well as the individual may also have supports coming in home. And that way we're not overlapping the service. SafeinHome uses a person-centered approach, and we are a person-centered support service that empowers the individual with disabilities to live their fullest, most self-determined lives by providing support when they need it, combined with the technology to reach their goals. Think about it as supports on demand. Remote support staff are always available around the clock, 24/7, always supportive and never directive. Some individuals don't like people coming in their own homes or their apartment and saying, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z. Our remote support staff are trained with Virginia specific training that are required by DSPs and are never directed. They say, we'll just ask a question. Hey, did you get a chance to take your medicine? Did you take your medicine with food? Oh, what did you eat? Was it good? Those are just some examples. It's covered by 100% of the Medicaid IDDD waivers. Like I mentioned earlier, the FIS, CL, VI, and CCC plus waivers. And this slide just shows how the assistive technology is integrated within our system and can detect motion. The sensors can detect motion. They can detect temperature, moisture. For an example, if a toilet or sink overflows. And it's attached, it's in our system, and the individual can access remote support staff 24/7 when they need it. Certain alerts are programmed to notify the care circle. If when X amount happens, there are door sensors that could be added to the front and back door to make sure that the individual leaves and goes to work on time. And the care circle could be notified, whether that's family, support coordinator, support staff could be notified to make sure the individual left on time. And the intelligence system integrates multiple technologies and sensors for superior accuracy and real-time 24/7 response. Some of the solutions we can provide would be for overnight safety support, visitor safety. A Ring doorbell could be added to the front door, and the individual can see on their tablet, or the Echo Show could be attached where they can see who's on the other side and can safely know if it's safe to open the door or not. We can provide solutions for wandering. Here I have an example of a geocom, and the individual can take this with them, push the button, and either contact remote supports, or they can contact a family member. There are several different program numbers that could be programmed into this device, and it will just go down to the programmed list of the care circle so the individual can receive help. Or you can, on your phone, just text that number and get a notification of the exact coordinates, the GPS coordinates of the individual, and know exactly where you need to, if the person needs help, they don't know where they are and they need help, you can find out exactly where it is. And on your phone, it will pull up onto your Google Maps, and you can find the exact location. We can also provide supports in kitchen safety.
Melissa, can I
Yes.
interject? We had a couple questions that relate to that. So how about 911 notification? And then I have another question too.
I'm looking through the chats. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
911, we do not have this attached to 911. And Melanie, if you don't mind popping in as well to
Yeah.
answer that question.
Yes. So we
Because
can put emergency services in the geocom, as well as attach the non-emergency number with our remote supports, so that if they do need emergency services and they have remote supports, our remote support has the local non-emergency number that can call and get them the help they needed. So it just depends on what's built into the call tree and what they're comfortable with.
So that's part of the individual plan that you help write up, as far as who, and that can be individualized basically to whatever
It is 100% individualized. Yes.
Okay. And then the other question about, does Medicare also pay for this program?
currently we are a Medicaid waiver provider, not Medicare. And with CCC Plus, that is also a Medicaid, and we are a waiver provider with CCC Plus. So currently Medicare does not pay for us here in Virginia. Now, Melanie, feel free to chime in. Do you think there are certain individual specific scenarios? And it's everything is 100% individualized. I do know there are some individuals where the family or the individual pays for the service while they're on the wait list.
Yeah, I agree. So with CCC Plus, I think it's important to note that it's only covers AT, the assistive technology, not remote supports. Just that's how the waiver is set up. And then, yeah, we do have private pay. Several individuals that chose to do private pay.
You're saying for the remote support?
For the
Yes.
remote support, yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
And thank you so much, Melanie, for clarifying.
Yeah, yeah. My pleasure.
And I know sometimes some individuals would prefer to call 911, and the GeoComm is to help mitigate the unnecessary 911 calls. And so again, it's based on the individual, what their needs are, what their support needs are, and what the goals are. What is the person working towards? We can also provide medication management with through a pill dispenser, and it could be coupled with remote supports as well, where the individual can take their medication in front of the camera. However, the individual decides to have that set up. It is, again, individual specific. We can also provide solutions for emotional regulation, work support, and transition. And again, where the circle support, where the individual is in the center, and we work with the natural supports, advocacy groups such as the ARC of North Central Virginia, community supports, other providers, in-home supports, housing and work supports, and remote support. So we're just a little piece of the puzzle to help provide the supports for the individual so they can become more independent and stay safe in their home, in their community. And again, like I said earlier, the individual could be living with family as well. Does not necessarily mean they have to live on their own, but they can maybe working towards that goal. I am going to go into some successful housing stories, real life stories of some of the individuals. Again, names have been changed to protect people's identity, but meet Lucy. Her desired outcome, she would like to feel safe and secure in her home and community. And she wants to live alone with her dog, Leon, knowing she has support when she needs it. She's diagnosed with a mild intellectual disability and sometimes is forgetful. She lives in a gated apartment community in Northern Virginia. And on occasion, she forgets her gate code and is locked out. And she's happiest when people call and visit her. So some of the supports she receives: a housing guide helps secure her apartment. She also was able to find a day program and other favorite activities to participate in within the community, within her community. She uses remote supports for emergencies, lockouts, and receives daily friendly calls. She has the assistive technology for emergency alerts that can notify her care circle. Deborah takes her medication. She wants to take her medication independently. She needs reminders to eat in the morning with her medication. As you guys may know, that it's sometimes best to have food with your medication. Stay safe during the community outings. And Deborah would like to identify possible reasons for excessive fatigue mid-afternoon. Some things about Deborah: she lives with her family. She wants to be more independent, and she has breakthrough seizures. So some of the solutions: with the use of a pill dispenser, coupled with remote supports, Deborah can take her medications without her family's reminder. So that alleviates some stress on both Deborah and her family's ends, where she's able to do this independently. And I do not have one with me here right now to show you, but the pill dispenser can be programmed and it will provide alerts where the individual has to go pick up the pill dispenser and then turn it upside down to get the medication, which will then stop the alarm, and take the medication. And with the tablet, there is a camera. So she is able to talk to the remote support staff and take her medication, and she takes it with food. The remote support staff performs the medication reminders at 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 6 p.m. And again, this is tailored to Deborah. Other individuals may just want morning or night check-ins or reminders. She goes out for walks by herself, carrying her GeoComm. And if she needs contact, she can either push the SOS button, just the red button. She can reach her care circle or the remote support staff. Jack, his desired outcomes are to ensure he gets safely to and from work, avoid unnecessary calls from his parents to ensure that he is on track for the day, increase his sleep at night. About Jack, he lives alone in a high-rise apartment building. He recently moved out of his parents' home. He loves his job, but sometimes sleeps in, missing his Uber, or forgets to clock in at work. So some of the supports for Jack, a local advocacy group helped identify his supports most beneficial to his goals. He obtained a job near his apartment. He uses assistive technology to notify his parents that he's left on time and arrive at work. So again, he's not having to contact his family, but that's set up so they receive alerts. His behavioral therapist reviews his AT reports for nighttime activity. Remote supports staff reminds him to clock in at work and turn off his electronics at night. And again, that could be done just simply through the GeoComm. With the individuals, it's basically, again, all the services that are provided and some of the technology that's used is for what are the solutions? What are the desired outcomes for the individual? What are their solutions? What are some of the solutions that we can help with to mitigate with those services, the solutions that the individuals are the goals that they want to obtain and achieve. And again, we are one piece to the puzzle. This has all of our account execs, my information and my district manager's information on here, and we are located all over the state of Virginia. I do need to update the slide once we're in the process of hiring somebody else, and I could send that out after that occurs. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and go answer some questions.
All right. Thank you for that, Melissa. So we'll switch into question and answer mode. So please go ahead and chime in if you have a question for Melissa. I have one question, just general question about, so are the devices themselves safe at home devices, or do you use like off the shelf, for lack of a better term, devices that get integrated into the program?
It's a combination of both. And the devices we use, some are the tablet, I think it's an Android-based tablet. It is not an iPad. The doorbells, I used an example of the Ring doorbell. We use the Ring doorbell. Melanie, feel free to give me updated information. I do know it evolves, and I think we're using a different brand of a video doorbell. So it changes. And we use the Echo Show. Echo. The sensors, I do not know the brand that they are, but they're just little balls that go up on the wall that are attached. If a person is in an apartment, we work with the landlord to get permission, and we do have the ability to install the equipment, which we install the equipment ourselves and maintain that equipment, upkeep, make sure the batteries are changed. So that is not the responsibility of the individual or their family. And the technology is constantly evolving. So I know when I speak about our remote supports, and it's through the assistive technology that we use, we're able to provide the supports. It's constantly changing. We don't want to focus on the actual devices themselves. I always use the example of when I started driving, we had a bag phone that plugged into the cigarette lighter. And now we have these iPhones that are so smart. So the purpose of the phone remains the same. If you were to get into a car accident, you want to have the ability to call 911. Well, when I was 16 and the phone carried in a bag and plugged in the cigarette lighter, as you can see, the progression of the technology. So our devices are constantly changing as technology advances, but the solutions remain very individualized, person-centered, and tailored to the individual, their support needs, and their outcomes, and the environment also plays a factor. Melanie, would you like to chime in?
No, I mean, I think correct. To answer your question, Marilyn, most of our devices are not specific to SafeinHome, but we do it, like Melissa said, we do the installation, we do the upkeep. We, if something is broken, malfunctions, we manage that, and we work with the support coordinators if there needs to be a replacement to get it covered within the funding. And our installers work for SafeinHome, so we don't contract out for them. So they're very specific. They know what the goals are. They know, everything is very person-centered and onboarded with the individual's goals and needs in mind. All built with the support of the care circle and input from the individual. Yeah, and it's ever evolving. So if we see something that we find might work better, we're going to trial it and try to bring it on to include in our devices. But like Melissa said, we don't want to focus on strictly the devices. We want to promote the individual's independence and whatever that looks like for them, whether it's taking medications or simply getting off their transportation and walking into their front door without having somebody have to come out and get them. Those are the types of solutions that we want to provide. Does that answer your question? Long-windedly.
No, that's great. That's great. We did have a question in the chat. Do you have any way to protect the monitors, like a family member knocking all the cameras off the walls or breaking something? How do you handle that?
Well, it depends on what is being installed. I want to point out, we don't like to install cameras in the house. We want to protect the individual's privacy. The cameras are usually at the door or facing outside for visitor safety reasons, so the individual can know who's at the door. The sensors are usually they're in an area that they're installed in an area that is not going to be knocked off. And Melanie, feel free to add more information. I know our installers are very creative on how they install. And if we know this information in advance, the installers can make sure that they're not going to be in a place where they can be knocked off.
Yeah, and they're usually, indiscreet. But if we do have a camera for some reason that's, somebody knocked down, of course, you can call us and we'll come and put it back up. We don't have any type of casing around it that protects it from that, if that makes sense.
Right.
Most of our devices are installed with that really heavy duty, like 3M tape, so it doesn't damage walls. The motion sensors do have two little screws that they're screwed in, and just put it in place. For people who engage in property destruction, you know, case by case, it would just be kind of one of those things that if we trial it and we find that it's constantly being destroyed by the individual, that wouldn't be something that SafeinHome would cover, but we would work with you to get replacement through the waiver if you wanted to continue using that device. And there might be other solutions that we could use instead of, you know, a camera, something more discreet, like some of our sensors might be a better solution.
And in the chat, I put a link to our YouTube channel. There are other videos that highlight different devices and the solutions to the devices.
Right.
We have a question. Can you talk a bit about how you assist with kitchen safety? Melanie, would you like to?
Sure. So again, I know you're going to get sensor overloads, but we do have a variety of sensors. We have a stove unattended sensor. So if you have somebody that, you know, their goal is they want to cook for themselves or they want to prepare a meal for their family, and we want to make sure that they're safe while they're doing it, we have a stove unattended sensor paired with a motion sensor so that if we're at the stove cooking, we get distracted and walk away, it's going to send a notification either, you know, to the individual themselves and the care circle, however you guys have it set up, to set that reminder that, hey, the stove is unattended, so that they can be reminded to go back to the task at hand. We have stove shut off sensors that can actually shut the stove off if it detects non-movement to prevent fire. Gosh, what else?
As well as we can have remote support staff attached on the other side of the tablet. The person can contact and ask for questions. Now, obviously, we are not in the person's home. We are not replacing a person. We are not replacing natural supports or paid supports, such as in-home or direct care provider that is in the house. So it depends on the individual and what their goals are and what the situation. So I hope that answered your question. And you're welcome. I'm monitoring the chat. And
is it only for adults or can teens and younger individuals use this too?
Remote supports is only for adults because we bill under EHBS, which stands for electronic home-based supports. So for Virginia, the individual must be 18. For all other situations, we can provide the technology under AT, assistive technology, under the waiver, but it's individual specific as far as what is the individual situation, what would the device be, and how is it used to help the individual. Melanie, I'll let you take over if I did not answer it correctly.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, it's going to depend on the waiver. So like CCC plus, probably we can get the assistive technology for anybody 21 under or 21 and over. For the other waivers, sometimes, you know, depending on which fund bucket we have to go through, we might run into some obstacles, but we're willing to kind of meet and go through the process to see if we can get things approved for individuals that are under 18 for the assistive technology.
And I know that's a very vague answer, and it just depends on the individual, the funding source, the waiver, and what's the purpose.
Well, and I'm trying to think, like, let's say after this call, I figured out I really need a stove sensor. So what would be the advantage of it? But my child is on the CCC plus, so she'd only probably, it sounds like, be eligible for assistive technology. What would be the advantage of like going through you guys to get the stove sensor versus me just going out and getting one myself? If that makes sense.
Well, and that's an individual specific question, because the funding through the waiver for CCC plus, depending on the age for AT, Melanie, feel free to answer this too. I know with the Medicaid waivers that you only have up to $5,000 annually under EHBS, and then $5,000 annually under assistive technology. So some families may choose to save that budget, that yearly annual budget, for something else that the individual may need that's greater than the cost of the stove sensor. With CCC plus, and Melanie, I know you have more experience with that particular waiver.
As far as, I'm sorry.
Well, to answer the question, you know, if it's worth going through the waiver through CCC plus, or for the family to purchase.
Well,
the
and actually, I guess my question was just more like the value of going through SafeinHome. If you know you're not going to be eligible for the remote support portion of it, except out of pocket, like the value of going through SafeinHome versus just figuring out different devices that a family might use on their own. Is there, I mean,
Yes, so I'll take that one. So the advantage is, one, you have the support of SafeinHome. You know, if something does go wrong with the device or you have a question about it, you've got access to us to help mitigate, to come do a repair, and to kind of help you know, do any education with the devices and continued education. If we are using a device and suddenly it's like, oh wait, can we, I totally forgot how to do this, or it stopped working because my power went out, what do I do? Well, you can call us and we can do some things remotely, but we can also come out and do a fix, kind of a repair or replace type thing. But you just have that security blanket, if you will, of us being the managers of those devices, instead of you just having to pay out of pocket. And if something goes wrong, that's kind of, well, there's that, right?
okay.
So it's nice. And then you kind of build the relationship with us as well, so that when your individual does get to a point where they're eligible for, say, remote support, you've already got the devices in place, they're used to them, they're comfortable with them. Let's now add on this support to provide a little additional service.
Right.
And that is something I'll piggyback off of what you said, Melanie. One, we can install the device ourselves. And let's say the individual, your loved one, either turns 18 and is eligible for remote supports, or he or she receives a waiver, then you could add on the support of remote supports. Some individuals have been in service with us for 2-3 years, and they add on every year. Your budget resets, they may add a new device through the assistive technology, or may need to, their situation changes, so they need to move from one location to another and want to add a different type of solution where we can provide those supports. Any additional questions?
And there's no out-of-pocket cost if you go through the waivers with us.
So if a family is interested in you know, contemplating this type of support, what does it look like for the process to get started?
They would contact the support coordinator, can contact Melanie, and Melanie would start the conversation. There is a request for service, just a standard form to be completed. And Melanie, I'll let you.
Yeah, yeah,
over.
or whatever's easiest. We're pretty laid back when it comes to referring. So if it's easier, so Marilyn, let's just say somebody came to you and said, "How do I get in touch with these people?" Feel free to give them, mine or Melissa's contact information directly, and then I can reach out to the family and then reach out to the support coordinator myself and say, hey, we've been in conversations, this is what's happening, and kind of get everybody into speed. The most important goal is to have everybody in that same loop of information to move forward. But the easiest way is just call us and we can take it from there.
Okay. And then, so your process looks like then the family calls you and then
we set up a
talk about
consultation. Yeah. So we set up a consultation, whether it's in person, through Zoom, and kind of get to know that they're individual, and hear what their goals and their needs are. And then we build on that. We make our recommendations. After the consultation, we then write up what we call a proposal, which lists all the devices that we talked about, how they're going to be used, and the justifications of, how it supports their goals and needs. Then comes the, enter the state portion of it, where we submit everything to Medicaid for review and approval. And then once we get that approval back, we schedule the installation with the family at their convenient time of preference. And our installer goes and does the install and instructions while he's there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions anyone can think of? If not, I'm ready to do our door prizes. We're going to do them live on this call, even though it's for everyone who registered for our series. But if we have any last questions here first. I never know quite how long to wait for.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for all that information. And